Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel. Check the video out today. Guys, today's topic, we're going to be talking about the super shallow running crankbaits, the crankbaits that run less than a foot deep, like this man's Baby 1 Minus. There's a line of crankbaits out there that actually are designed to run, like I said, less than 12 inches deep. And this is a really good time of year to fish them. So we're going to go over the conditions that they work best in, give you a few tips and advice on how to catch fish on these things. And also, guys, I'll link the sub 1 foot crankbait line in my Tackle Warehouse link if you guys would like to pick up a few of them. There's actually 3 different ones that I use. One is the man's Baby 1 Minus here, and this is the Storm Subwort, and this is the Megabass Zero Griffin here. Now all these, like you can see, they all got the same type of lip design on it. Now, guys, I've had some excellent tournaments and I've had some unbelievable days fishing this under the right conditions. And for the most part, I have found that May and June are the 2 best months of the year to fish it. You can catch fish on them, you know, anytime the water's warm, but for whatever reason, I think it's because a lot of the fish are shallow this time of year in May and June, but I've had some of my best tournaments in specifically like mid-May to mid-June on these I call them zero cranks. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the conditions for it. The number one thing that you have to have with this is you've got to have stained water. So you've got to have water, that, with the exception of one scenario we'll talk about a little bit. But in order for this type of crankbait to work, you really need to have water visibility. I prefer it, less than 12 inches. 6 to 12 inches of visibility is the ideal scenario for this. A couple different reasons, because number one, it doesn't run very deep. And number two, those fish that are in that really shallow water are the ones that you're targeting with this particular bait. So super stained water is going to be the key. Now, another thing that you need to have for this thing to work really good is you need to have some type of cover in that shallow, dirty water. My favorite is grass. If you have any type of shallow grass in dirty water, lily pads, it could be, gator grass, water willows, hydrilla, milfoil, anything that's in that, that's got cover in that water visibility that's like this, because running this thing next to that shallow cover along the edges of it can produce some unbelievable strikes with that. I've never really done very good on these things in open water, with the exception of one that we'll talk about, and that exception is if you're fishing gin clear water for smallmouth. Smallmouth will hammer this thing almost like a topwater. So all you guys that are fishing smallmouth lakes, like up in the Great Lakes type areas, Lake Champlain, you can take these zero cranks and you can burn them just under the surface in that clear water, and they'll come up and hammer it just like a spinnerbait or a topwater under that scenario. That's the only exception of that. So one of the things that you're going to find out about a zero crank is that the way you work the bait through the water is really critical. If you make a long cast, like with 12-pound test line, like on the Storm Subwort, or even like on the 1 Minus, it's probably going to get down to about 12 inches, but you don't want it there. The key to catching fish on this thing, guys, the biggest key is you have to wake it. So what I do is I'll throw it out there and I'll keep my rod tip at about 10 o'clock and I'll reel it fast across the surface of the water, and I want it to stay in sight all the time. So even if the water's dirty, when I'm reeling this thing, I'm keeping my rod tip high enough to where it's sort of waking behind it. When you reel this thing, you'll notice that it creates a little boil behind the water if you don't let it go down very deep. That is when they hammer it. If I try to reel it with my rod tip low and try to get the bait down to 6 to 12 inches long, I don't catch many fish on it. So throw it out there, like next to whatever cover that you're fishing. Keep your rod tip up just to the mount. Reel it fairly fast with a fast stop and go retrieve. Keep the rod tip high enough to where you see it, just causing a little surface disturbance on there. And when they hit it, guys, they will take it out of your hand. It's almost like, it is like a topwater strike. When they bite this thing, since it's just an inch under the surface, they come up and it looks just like a topwater strike. So I don't like to fish it over about 2 or 3 inches deep. I try to keep it high like that in the water column. And color variations it just depends, guys. I mean, if the water is really dirty, I'm going to use some type of a brighter, chartreuse side. But if it's a little bit more on the clean side, or if it's bright out, I'll use a shad pattern like this. But I'm telling you what, guys, it is one of the funnest baits to fish. Once you start catching a few fish on it, you'll be addicted on it, because it's an exciting way to get bit on there. But anyway, guys, I'll link all this stuff at my Tackle Warehouse links in the description. Hope it helps you all out. We'll talk later.